communications with the former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. I don't know how much of that you got to hear, but the main message there was that we want to craft a peace that doesn't fall apart in a few years. Can they get it done?
John, thanks. I was able to hear most of it, and I heard the original as when he gave the speech as well. Yes, it's absolutely achievable. Look, everyone wants peace, but we have to be clear about what the terms of those peace are. Vladimir Putin would like peace where he rolls through Kyiv and Poland, right? That's the peace that he would prefer. And we, as President Trump said, and I think what was his first comment on this conflict, a tweet that he sent when he first took office again, he's willing to impose real costs on Russia. He'll have to demonstrate that, I suspect, in order to convince Putin that he really does need to settle this thing out. And then this will end with a set of conversations, a negotiation with the Europeans, the Ukrainians, the Russians, all of them being part of it. And, John, we shouldn't lose sight. What will matter in the end is what's taking place on the ground. That's the power. That's where the leverage comes from. Putin wants to negotiate against the backdrop where the weapons have all gone silent. He will view that as a victory. We need to make sure that if we're going to negotiate, we fight and we continue to provide the Ukrainians the tools they need to fight while these negotiations are ongoing.
So the big question is, at the end of all this, if there is a peace agreement, who gets what? It would seem, based on Pete Hegseth's comments the other day, that Russia will keep Crimea. But then what happens with Donbass? I mean, they've got control of pretty much the entire area. Does Putin hang on to that, too?
Well, you know, he's lost some of it already, John. So the Ukrainians are actually making some progress. There's places they're losing ground as well. But look, this will all be played out, and it's whether he'll have it or not, whether it's formally recognized by the rest of the world or not. I think Vice President Vance captured this correctly. What does truly matter to demonstrate that Putin failed in his effort to attack Europe, what truly matters is that we set conditions, a security arrangement led by the Europeans, largely underwritten by the Europeans. I agree with President Trump and Vice President Vance, but a security architecture that prevents Putin or his soon-to-be successor, prevents them from actually ever doing this. Pick a time, 25 years, 50 years from now. That's the kind of architecture that must be and can be put in place.
Soon to be? Do you know something that we don't know?
No, I just think the people of Russia can see that this is a failed effort, and they can see the demonstrably bad outcomes for the Russian economy, the Russian military. I think Vladimir Putin played his hand very poorly, and I'm very hopeful the Russian people will get a chance to live a life that is much better than the one that they're suffering under now. So
the vice president had some pretty pointed words, as did the Secretary of Defense for Europe, saying that when it comes to the collective defense of the European continent, they're going to need to throw in more money. They're at 2% right now, most of them, but 5% is probably the target in terms of military spending. And then J.D. Vance also took aim at Europe and calls for censorship, the annulment of the recent elections in Romania, saying, look, people have different opinions, and you might not like those opinions, but sometimes those people just happen to win elections. Listen to how he put it.
And speaking up and expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk.
I'm sure you heard that, too. What'd you think of that?
Oh, goodness. You know, it is the case that Europeans are trying to figure out how to restore the dynamism of their once great economies that are struggling today. That will take many voices. It will change. It will take real changes to their set of policies that have disincentivized risk-taking and creativity and economic growth. I think that's what Vice President Vance was ultimately get to. You need many voices, and whether that's the various conservative and liberal parties in Germany, or all the voices in the United Kingdom, or in France, that, by the way, isn't spending anything remotely necessary to protect itself. Yeah, when those flourish, those economies can flourish, and those people can thrive as well. And I think that's what, in the end, Vice President Vance was getting at and advocating for. And whether that's voices from America or voices from elsewhere, so be it.
All right. Mr. Secretary, good to spend time with you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.